Okay. So Jared already called me out, so I'm not going to say how many of you met someone new. I won't ask you to raise your hands anymore. But I really hope most of you were able to meet someone new. We do have a really stellar set of folks here attending today. And that brings us to our next speaker. So our next speaker has a career path that many of us would just dream of having. She started her career with, she went to Stanford to do a master's of engineering in product design. And right after that, worked at IDEO for about 8 years. And after IDEO, she worked at a tech startup, co-founded a tech startup, has been a longtime faculty at Stanford's D School, and now she's heading design for all customer experiences at the e-commerce company called Essence in Montreal. So let's give a big round of applause to Kris Woyzbun, Senior Director of Experience Design at Essence. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you. Thanks, Preet. And it's so great to go after the teen heartthrob Jared. That was a really good talk. It's really good to be here. So I'm Kris Woyzbun. I am a Senior Director of Experience Design at Essence. And I think I'm just waiting for my next slide. Or I guess I do that myself. It's still early for me. Okay, I'd like to start off by asking everyone a question. What did you want to be when you grew up? Because when I was young, all I wanted to do was make movies like George Lucas. Maybe it was that Return of the Jedi was my first movie, or that I was slightly obsessed with Val Kilmer and Willow. This was some 11-year-old thing. But I did become aware that film was a place where you could dream, and that dream could become a reality. So I started to tell my dad and my mom this was something I wanted to do, and so I was going to go into special effects. And they're like, okay. My dad, I don't know if this is a memory I created recently or it's something that actually happened, but my dad said, well, if you want to have a career like that, you have to go into engineering. So an engineer I was going to be. Many attempts at making student short films in high school to the then seriously new and cool introduction of Corel Draw in my visual tech classes, and I'm probably aging myself slightly, but I continue to lead a dual life of loving both technology and imagination. I didn't know it yet, but I'd begun my unexpected path into design. Later at Dalhousie in Halifax, Nova Scotia, beautiful Nova Scotia, I studied bioengineering and robotics, and I took that combined mindset of technology and creativity everywhere. So a class about mechanical engineering and automotive, perfect. I spent hours designing non-car related 3D designs, and all I can really remember back then was how finite element analysis made my 3D models look extremely beautiful. I look back and remember that feeling of having this life of contrasts, but that I didn't quite belong in a traditional career. Any job I saw on Monster.com was just so not for me. It was my first day at Stanford in the mechanical engineering product design department that I finally found my people. I felt like I finally found my tribe, a band of weirdos and outsiders from all walks of life, and we all had a compulsion to create. Back home, we all really never felt like we quite fit in, but there, just all of a sudden, it really all fit together. So after 2 years of some of the best years of my life, I can still recall the energy on that first day on the outskirts of Stanford campus, where the Stanford D School classes were first held, and it was a portable on the edge of campus. This was when universities didn't understand that using design thinking tools and methodology could actually improve how we go about solving problems globally. So then they said, here's a portable. The D School, for those who don't know in the room, it's one of the first design thinking institutes on the planet, and it has since gone on to inspire most design thinking institutions globally. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on the right side. Yes, okay. So I was sitting in class that day, and just the room was buzzing, and everyone was so excited to be there. Everyone had the same smile as me, because it just felt like you're in there, and it was a moment. And there's a woman sitting to the right of me, and we started to chat, and I just really wanted to know her story. I just couldn't, I wanted to know more. She seemed so interesting. So go to college, be in the Olympics, work in TV, and become a pilot. These were the goals of a 14-year-old girl, Bonnie Simi, who grew up in a town tucked in the mountains of East LA. So how did she get here? So when I met her in class that day, she was doing, oh, sorry. Sorry, my slides are cut off. Oh, no. So how did she get here? Bonnie says, I wanted to be the best luge athlete in the whole wide world. So I bought a plane ticket to Germany and proceeded to crash over and over and over again. And just so you know, at that time, she did not know how to do luge. She literally bought a plane ticket and just wanted to go and learn. And that girl went on to compete in 3 Olympics on the American team. She became a sports commentator for ABC. She became an airplane pilot for JetBlue, and then went on to have 3 Stanford degrees. So when I met her in class that day, she was doing her executive MBA at Stanford, which is in California, and she was flying in from New York City on a JetBlue airplane. She would just ask, hey, can I fly a flight of passengers to California just so I can go to class? So which is so nuts. I would call her a total badass. And she's now the president of JetBlue Tech Ventures. And Salon Magazine called her the most interesting woman in the world. After meeting Bonnie and those like her, every time I've had an opportunity to meet a designer or creative individual with an unexpected career path, I get really excited. I start appreciating how lucky their company is to have them. They didn't focus on a linear path to get there. And in fact, they didn't have boxes that they were trying to check. They just saw each adventure as a moment to really dig in, a time to do something amazing, fulfilling, and rewarding. I call this type of creative person an expert outsider. They're informed by their own unconventional path, and this person really designs by exploring unexpected paths rather than relying on established convention. So many of today's creative leaders are expert outsiders. Virgil Abloh of Off-White and Louis Vuitton menswear fame, J.K. Rowling, Tinker Hatfield of Nike, and even the Essence co-founders who come from finance and engineering backgrounds. They now find themselves in the fashion industry. So for context, Essence is a Montreal-based fashion platform with a global reach. We curate a selection of independent, luxury, and streetwear designers, and produce and publish our own editorial content 5 days a week. I'm now proudly in my best career of my life, where I co-lead design. I lead our teams to design for end-to-end customer experience across all digital and physical channels. I knew it'd be a good fit at Essence because we are constantly challenging convention, and it's no surprise that we embrace expert outsiders. We invite left brain and right brain individuals to strike a balance between numbers and data, as well as use our creative intuition. This norm came about organically because our founders, who are outsiders to the fashion industries themselves, really wanted to give a unique point of view on fashion, commerce, and content. I feel like I'm in a comedy club, you know, when you have your water on the trip. It has also allowed us to take risks. Making decisions that would normally be really uncommon in the fashion industry is something that we're always trying to push. So taking unconventional designs and like turning them on their head is like always what we're trying to push. And putting like even commercial decisions like having the landing page of essence.com really be focused on our editorial content and not the actual fashion product is really different for this world. And our content platform was a choice because we really wanted to amplify the voices of our creative community. So when it came to translating the company ethos into retail, this past May, we opened up our flagship store in Montreal. And it gave us the liberty to be experimental and develop a new take on retail, especially for luxury fashion. We had to consider the different customer touchpoints and overall design experience that came along with offering a unique point of view on the shopping experience and even developing our own in-house technology. So by leveraging this mindset of problem solving, by exploring unexpected paths and disregarding established convention, how can this be applied to you as design leaders? So, of course, Essence isn't the only company that can benefit from embracing a culture of expert outsiders. The Tinkers and Virgils of the world have given me the realization that being a master of many make the best creative minds. So, as leaders in design, we need to understand that our competitive advantage in our ideas and designs will be creating a culture of this expert outsider. So how do you do this? How do I do this? Let's take these 4 ways, these 4 tips to shape how to create this creative culture. And so I personally learned each tip from people and co-workers that I've had the pleasure of working with along my own unconventional path. Number 1, invite in the outrageous. Have you ever wondered who those people are that travel with the circus? Anyone? Yeah, no. And I just moved to Montreal. Actually, every other person I meet has been in the circus. So, but I think, I think next to saying you're an architect at a cocktail party, saying that you've worked in the circus for almost 10 years is like always piques people's interest. So before working at one of the world's most influential design firms, IDEO, my friend Joe Wilcox spent 6 seasons with, and I want to get this right, the Culpeper and Merriweather Great Combined Circus. So he was a roustabout, whatever that is, a stagehand, prop builder, and a show drummer. And it was one of those old style, one-ring, big tents. And he traveled the world for almost 6 years. So I met Joe at IDEO when he was a master toy designer. Any of the toys that you see today on the best of lists had a lot to do with Joe. So where's Joe now? Convincing investors like Mark Cuban on Shark Tank with his company Sway Motorsports. And with him, like weird and outrageous have always been Joe's normal. So everything he's been involved in have been radical, out there, big, and successful. So as Abraham Lincoln once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So I would definitely invite in the outrageous to bring in unexpected design talent, who in turn will bring unexpected ideas and outcomes. Number 2, look outside your design team for untapped creative minds. So this is the wonderful Dale Harrison. He's one of our most esteemed personal stylists at Essence. He grew up watching Stars on Ice. And at 10, he saw figure skating and performing as a way to tell stories and really just to use his imagination. He also relished making people feel happy and important. And after figure skating, he told me that he started selling hair clips in the armpit of a major luxury department store. And it was then that he quickly realized his love of connecting with people through stories and style. And it drew him to a career as a personal stylist. Years later, he's still working with some of the top clients in North America. And because of his unique perspective on the fashion client, he understands what good service looks like and what it should be like. So we work closely with him as designers to make sure that we're really investing in creating the moments that matter for our customer. And for one way we're building strong leaders at Essence is we're constantly inviting the team to look outside in untraditional ways to tap talent like Dale for more a unique perspective. Number 3, embrace the side gig. So alter egos were always part of Michael's imagination. As a child, his alter ego was called Prince Maximilian. And now Michael Rinaldi is a graphic designer at Essence, where he's been for 7 years. A short time ago, Michael went on Instagram and he created one funny short post. And it just exploded. His short post was him creating another alter ego, which he calls Michael III. It got really wonderful reactions through likes and comments, and it's evolved to what it is today, essentially a cult following online. Michael III is now part passion project and a part-time job that has helped him hone in on his craft as a graphic designer, art director, and copywriter. And Michael is designer by day and Michael III by night. We've even invited his personality, Michael III, to grace Essence's product pages as a model, as well as an ongoing Michael III editorial series. So how do you foster culture where what you do outside of work makes you stronger at work? By encouraging Michael to explore his side gig both in and out of work, that leads to multiple levels of collaboration and allowing him to flex his different design muscles he previously was not. Imagination has no boundaries, and I believe that inviting your team to embrace their side gig will also influence what they bring to your company every day. Number 4, mentor through to the next adventure. So what happens when that creative expert has already transitioned from an outsider to insider in your company? How are we extending and mentoring our people so that they're taking that expert outsider ethos to a new role within your company, to a new team, to a new role, or even onto their next thing outside? Wouldn't this improve the level of the whole design community? When I was at IDEO, where I spent a wonderful 8 years, I was working on a software idea with my twin sister during evenings and weekends. And one of my mentors and friends, Paul Bennett, who's the chief creative officer at IDEO, quickly guessed that I was burning the midnight oil and doing something exciting. He helped me really take that energy and infuse it into my client work at IDEO, where I then felt like I started to learn a whole lot more, and it elevated everything I was doing. And then a little over a year later, I finally got the gumption to do it full time, and I had IDEO's support. What started as a way to make beautiful magazine archives feel fresh and fun turned into a couple of amazing beta partnerships with renowned magazine publishers like Vogue, and then another consumer-facing platform that reinvented how we interpret and shop style. And as a design leader at Essence now, I'm invested in giving designers opportunities to push themselves creatively, paying it forward so that these design leaders will better the ecosystem as a whole. And I owe my current role at Essence to people like Paul, who is a design leader themselves. And then I ask you, how are you mentoring your team through to their next adventure? So these aren't stories of people who had a really linear path. They're stories of people who had a unique and colorful lens to the world. The magic of this is that you can't predict what their ideas will be, but you can guarantee that they'll come from a place no other designer, no other person has really been. And I think that's super special. So if your competitor is building teams of people just for their Ivy League backgrounds, their degrees, their pedigreed career path, they might be in a place that exhausts its ideas, or it ultimately stumbles back on typical strategies. And I believe that the best designers have many layers of experiences, the ones that have a real story, where they ultimately ended up in front of you because that's really where they were meant to be. So invite in the outrageous to bring in unexpected design talent, who in turn will bring unexpected ideas and outcomes. Look outside of the design team in untraditional ways for untapped creative minds. Help your creative team embrace their side gig so it will influence what they bring to your company every day. And mentor your team through to their next adventure. You may already have this type of culture, but if you don't, these tips can guide and also just help you in the everyday to create a mindset that will challenge the mundane and the commonplace and create spectacular results for you and your company. As a parting thought, challenge not only your team, but in yourself to find your fellow weirdos in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kris. That was amazing. In the morning, my parents were in the audience, but I think they've left now. And I'm glad they didn't see your talk because I make them feel guilty about pushing me into engineering earlier. And they're going to be like, see, it was all valid.
I have 2 engineering degrees, and I think it's been, those good years of my life. Really hard, but really well worth it.
Oh, yeah, this was amazing. Do we have any questions? We have one question right here.
Hi. I thought it was really interesting what you were talking about, bringing the mention to your next adventure point.
Yep.
I was curious to know how Paul Bennett helped you elevate, like how it helped you, because I find sometimes when you have to embrace the side gig, you can get really burnt out.
Yep.
Because you're doing those 2 things, and so how did that relationship help you elevate what you're doing?
Sure. I think for anyone who has, and I can repeat the question. So the question was, how did someone like Paul Bennett at IDEO, how did it really help me through my job, through helping with my side gig, how did that sort of translate into my day job at IDEO? But also the comment was having a side gig can sometimes burn you out. So first and foremost, I think if any of you or you have people on your team are doing something on the side, and it's getting more and more to the point where like it's taking over the day job. Like I just think it's just what they were meant to do, and you should sort of help them go there rather than sort of inhibit that passion. You know, that entrepreneurial spirit, like I believe should exist in everyone. It was something that I just couldn't get out of my head, and he recognized that. And so rather than saying I'm a bad employee, I'm a bad person, and like I should move on, it was let's take this opportunity to put you on projects. At that time, it was then leading our hospitality and retail group of clients, and it just, I don't know, it made it so much more richer, because all of a sudden I started to see every element of my job as an opportunity to learn even more, and I wanted to be good at it, so it helps IDEO, but it also helped me grow as an individual. And I liken that mentality to actually McKinsey. They do a great job of kind of helping support their consultants, and they have one of the most outstanding alumni networks on the planet. So, yeah, I hope that answers. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Just the back. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Kris.
Thank you.